This is the return of Witches and Wizards, and this user wants to see a slime witch. An aspiring adventurer, she would one day find herself exploring a low-ranked dungeon by herself. While this is very common and usually safe, she was unfortunately consumed by a slime at the entrance. Luckily, a high-ranked guild was in the area, and one of the mages was able to transfer her soul into the slime that consumed her. After much training to regain her basic motor skills, she found that she was undetected by most monsters in many dungeons, and after relearning magic and readjusting to her new slime form, she was proven to be quite useful and eventually became an official member of the high-ranking guild that saved her and took her in. So I've gotten a few suggestions for an eclipse, sun, and even moon-themed witch and wizard, so I decided to combine all the entries and came up with this. The twins are the manifestations of both the sun and moon, and when they were whisked onto this world randomly one day, they knew nothing of it or how to survive. Luckily, they had each other and the powers that they were born with. Unfortunately, these powers, being the manifestations of the sun and moon, meant that even the smallest spell they conjure up would emit a great deal of power that caused destruction around them. Luckily, they found that so long as their scepters intertwined, whenever they used any of their spells, the force at which it's emitted is greatly reduced, and so it allowed them to survive into the world way easier. Welcome back to Witches and Wizards. This user here wants to see a possum wizard. One night in a small town, a sorcerer would roam into it with a plan of causing mischief by teaching a random possum magic. Although this sorcerer was never identified or even noticed as they left very quickly, what's left of their work is a possum who is now causing immense mischief and mayhem around this small town by using levitation to scavenge and throw trash around everywhere. This is another Witches and Wizards. This user here wants to see a chicken witch. A high elf, she would one day be on the run by her own people when she stole their elusive golden chicken. This chicken has the ability of laying golden eggs, to which whatever the user wishes or thinks upon, cracking open the egg will reveal its contents. They abuse this power to create various gold and magical trinkets that they use for their own selfish gain, and even went as far as to experimenting on this chicken to make it immortal and even try to make it lay eggs faster. She stole the chicken to hopefully give it a better life, and now the two are on the run. They formed an unstoppable alliance as they both cannot be caught, and she uses the golden eggs for various escape maneuvers to which the other high elves dislike. This is another Witches and Wizards, and this user here wants to see an owl merchant wizard. An artisan of creating magical wands and staffs, he flies around the country selling his various objects and the services of repairing wands and staffs as well. He uses shrinking magic to condense his entire stock so that he can carry twice as much, as he usually goes on extremely long trips, oftentimes lasting years away from his workshop. This has been another Witches and Wizards, and I'll see you guys next time. Welcome back to another Witches and Wizards. These users want to see a dragon witch. A princess and powerful mage to a race of dragonborn, their people would one day be ambushed by their long-sworn enemies, the wyverns. During the nightly ambush, most were able to escape, including the princess, who was the primary target of the wyverns, and in the entire midst of all the chaos was able to save an unborn child. Now she is on the run trying to lay low as she formulates a plan to regroup with her people to formulate a counterattack and potentially looking to recruit others outside of their long conflict. This is another Witches and Wizards, and this user wants to see a candy corn wizard. After going through many trials and errors in an afternoon at an elusive candy corn factory, this young man would be the winner and the inheritor of said candy corn factory, held by the world's greatest candy corn maker who just so happened to be a wizard. Upon winning the entire candy corn factory, this young man would be able to also become the apprentice and soon the carrier and the beholder of the candy corn magic used to create the world's greatest candy corn. This is another Witches and Wizards, and this user here wants to see a fire witch. Born within a race of warriors constantly in the heat of battle, they would one day face an enemy they've never dealt with before, sorcerers. After a long, treacherous battle, they were able to come out victorious through sheer strength alone, and when rummaging through the aftermath, she would stumble upon an amulet from one of the fallen sorcerers. Through trial and error and dedication, she was actually able to figure out how this strange amulet worked and was able to conduct various sorts of spells. Among them, she chose to focus primarily on pyrotechnics, and in doing so, she was able to superheat her axe to over 1,000 degrees and overpower her enemies with a barrage of raining fire. She would be the first in her entire bloodline of warriors to become a mage. This is another Witches and Wizards, and this user want to see a Wind and Solar Punk Wizard. The last time we saw the Robot Wizard, he was alone and scared in the world and in search of his father. He was able to uncover that his father had unfortunately passed many decades ago, and he decided to not wallow too much into it and decided to dedicate his life to better humanity. Over the next several millennia, he would help humanity progress and have it enter the age of solarpunk, in which he had made many contributions. Unfortunately, the core in which his father had created his soul into to become the Robot Wizard was slowly starting to fade away, and as he spent his last remaining decades helping humanity and making preparations to see his father once again. Welcome back to another Witches and Wizards. This user here wants to see a blind witch. Magical fighting has become a very popular sport in recent years, which combines traditional duels with MMA-style fighting. The blind witch uses her gauntlets to launch various attacks at a distance with deadly accuracy to find an opening for close-quarter combat. Despite being blind, she can actually feel and sense mana to a high degree, so she's able to practically see where her opponents are and even be able to anticipate various attacks.